Lisa, I would let you introduce yourself.
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Lisa Bokhen, San Diego. Brandy, thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here, and I love that you come from contribution and doing these kinds of events to help your fellow agents. So that's awesome.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming onto this segment. This is North Florida Segment Leader Mastermind. And so we have people from all over. Sometimes we have guests that are not within Keller Williams. So I'll be mindful of that to acknowledge those guests when they do come on, and let us know where you service. So it's morning time where you're from.
It's morning time, but I'm an early riser. I am a San Diego native, and I was born and raised in San Diego, and have lived all over San Diego. So I've lived in East County and Rancho Santa Fe, all over the county, and so most of my business is repeat and referral. So I'm pretty much wherever people need me to be. I think I've touched all points of the county at this point. I specialize in luxury. I also love relocation, helping people understand neighborhoods and life, the areas that would best fit their lifestyle, and also wealth building. It's something that I'm passionate about, and have done a bit of that for myself. I've got 5 rental properties now, and I've been very intentional, and I love to share that with other people.
We'll definitely get into that later because I love investing. And once a month, I do what's called the Millionaire Club within my market centers. So it's the top agents, and just talking about investing either in holding, or I have some agents that are flipping. And like Gary said, buy dirt. Some of them are flipping land right now. So people get afraid of that risk with in regard to flipping. So we'll definitely touch on that because I think you have such an amazing background. But let's get everyone familiar with how you got started in real estate.
So I spent my entire life in sales and growing sales organizations. I started in the wholesale life insurance industry doing estate planning. Then I was part of a .com startup back in the day, where I was the only sales rep when they started, and grew that into becoming the national sales manager and having teams all over the US. Then I was a general manager in an automotive franchise, and ran that. So I spent my whole life in sales and growing sales organizations. I finally decided that I wanted to do my own thing. I didn't want to work for somebody else. And other members of my family are in real estate. And so it's just kind of the natural segue for me. I wish I would have done it a lot earlier. I love it so much. I love it so much, but yeah, I think I'm 11 years in now to the real estate career.
And how did you get started with Keller Williams? What's your story with Keller Williams?
Well, okay, so I got started with Keller Williams about 9 months into the business, and I was with other brokerages. And I understand we have people here from other brokerages. And so just my own personal experience, it wasn't a good fit. And I had spent my whole life in sales, and I knew that I could do it. It was just a different industry, and I just wasn't where I was thriving. And I had an agent who looked me up, and basically he was calling me because I had gone to an open house 5 years before, and he was looking me up as a potential, client. And I said, oh, I got my real estate license, and I started telling him what was going on. And he said, oh my gosh, you need to come talk to Ashley Lunn at Keller Williams. And I said, oh my goodness. So anyway, I did. And honestly, I found my home. I found the culture that resonated with me, and everything just kind of came together. It felt like family, and I was treated like an entrepreneur, and not kind of that cookie cutter, like you're a brand new person in the business or in your career. And so it was just a really great fit for me. And then, if you will, so then I was only in for about 1.5 years, and I loved that. then Metro office decided to open an office in Coronado, a small luxury boutique office. And it had double the cap. It went from 20,000 to 40,000.
Oh,
And there
wow.
were over 300 agents in our Metro office. And I was the only one that decided to go and start. Because again, I had that .com thing, I love the idea of, a startup. I knew I wanted to get into luxury. And so I didn't have any ties to Coronado, but it was just as close for me to go to the Coronado office as it was the Metro office. So I decided to take that leap of faith and help start the Coronado office, where I was for about 8 or 9 years. And so that was kind of how I got my start in luxury. So from there, I joined KW Luxury right away after I did that. Went to Texas. I was the only person from out of state that went to Texas to do the certified luxury home marketing specialist, and then did $1 Million Guild. And so it all just kind of just kept trying to grow and to learn, and put myself in the right environment to be able to take advantage of all the resources.
So at that point, you were fairly new to luxury. How did you see your luxury business grow from that point forward? As there might be some newer people that have just earned into luxury, so they might love hearing how you really launched your luxury part of your career.
Well, yeah, I think part of it was just putting myself in that environment and then going for the goals of getting the designations. I went to my first luxury retreat in Huntington Beach.
I remember that
I
one.
think that was right. And so, Brandy, I can't remember if that was like 8 or 9 years ago, but
Wow.
it was a little intimidating because I was a new kid on the block. I didn't know anybody. I was like all these big luxury agents or whatever. So I decided to get really intentional about it. And at the time I had my assistant, I said, I want to be able to be intentional. I want to be able to connect with people. And so I booked my room at the hotel, and I had her look up. I said, pick like a dozen top cities in the US and Canada, and then strategically pick top agents from those market centers, and invited them to a wine and cheese soiree in my hotel room at the event. And, to my delight, about 10 different agents came. I'm still friends with all of them. Nicole Gary was one of them, Richard
I
Lombard.
think she's who introduced me to you.
Yeah. And so that was, because also the networking opportunities that we have within Keller Williams, and also Keller Williams Luxury, because it is a more intimate group, are really special. And so that was one of the things that I did. And, just putting myself out there to be part of the luxury office, to getting the designations, to going to events. I've also been to like Leaders in Luxury, which is all different brokerages that get together. So really just kind of just taking the steps to move forward to getting going in that direction with the business.
So what I'm hearing is you're putting yourself in the right place. You're surrounding yourself with people, even back then, before you had the experience, to make sure that you have other people to aspire to be like, or to get ideas from and share. You find that our environment at Keller Williams and our luxury segment was conducive to that. But in addition to that, you were very strategic while you were there in your networking, and even creating a more intimate environment by private invitation only. And then lastly, I'm hearing that it's broker agnostic as well. You're going to go learn from other people doing different things at different brokerages or at different events. I love that. So very diverse. My next question is going to be something everyone wants to know right now, getting to our topic. You are a listing queen. I follow you on social media just to see the listing you're going to get that week, or 2 or 3. So let's give some tips to these agents who I know everyone's struggling with inventory. Everyone's saying there's no inventory, but in fact, there's plenty of inventory. It's just how to go out and get that luxury inventory. So what are you doing and what are you seeing has created your success?
Okay, well, one is, on the listing side, we, prior to COVID, and marketing those properties, and I think you guys are probably the same as us, and we just came from family reunion. I mean, I think it's pretty much nationwide, this low inventory. Is that
Yes.
the case where you guys are at?
So I'm in Sarasota. My team happens to service 5 different counties, but
Right.
the county I live in is Sarasota County.
Mhm.
And so we have about 0.6 months of inventory. The county north of us is also at 0.6 months for single family homes, so a few weeks of inventory. And then condos in Manatee County specific, where I'm actually at one of my market centers, I'm an OP of, is 0.4 months. So it kind of depends on where you're at and the type of product. But yes, less than a month anywhere in the given 5 county area that my team serves. We might have other guests from other areas in North Florida.
So on the listing side, especially for a larger, like we had a $10 million listing, we do events. We've coordinated with the San Diego Association of Realtors to have a property showcased. And like I had an oceanfront property, we did a sunset soiree. And because it was affiliated with the association, that, they invited all of the top realtors in San Diego. We do, I've done, lifestyle, not only property, but lifestyle videos, showcasing kind of, the lifestyle around the area and the property. On the buy side, with the really low inventory, it doesn't matter if it's 500,000 or 5 million or 10 million. We are still multiple offers, and so and competitive. I mentioned to you last night, we connected really quickly, and I was running out to show a $5.5 million property, and those are relocation buyers. And we are, it's still everything. We have to get out there right away, and everything is still multiple offers. So one of the things I've done with them, and I've been doing for years, is a lot of off market. I think I put together 5 off market last year. I've done 3 already this year with those particular buyers. And again, it doesn't really matter the price point, but one of the things that I'm always telling newer agents is every single agent that you come in contact with, you're holding an open house, I don't care what it is, put them in your database. It's all about connections. You never know who is going to be that person who's going to have the connection to get you a property or something in that real estate world. So, very intentional. I keep a database of over 3,000 agents, nationwide and globally that we connect with. And locally, like for these relocation buyers, I have an extensive database for San Diego. So, whether it's like reverse prospecting, somebody wants to be in a particular building and we know exactly they want only the penthouse and they only want, what their criteria is. Well, I'll do mailings. We do broadcast emails to our agent database on these particular buyers. I just did a broadcast email. I had 4 agents raise their hands with off-market properties, 2 of which were actually a pretty good fit. So, it just takes one, but that's where we just, especially in times like this, we have to get really resourceful in being proactive, because anybody can just put somebody on a search and wait for their phone to ring. So, we're just getting really resourceful, and I love I love the off market, and I love putting buyers and sellers together. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is you're using maybe something similar to a golden letter that you're mailing out. You're mailing some kind of collateral out to let people know you have a real need. This is a real qualified, ready to go relocation buyer, especially in this case. you are a relationship person, you're certainly going to be polite and professional with any and all associates, regardless of whether they're with your firm. Relationships are very, very important in putting these deals together and helping to serve your clients. And of course, ensure that your reputation remains in a positive light, right? I know people get caught up in having a deal and maybe it gets a little rough along the way and they lose sight of the fact that working together and serving your clients is the most important. And who knows if you're going to be on the other end of helping a buyer with their listing on the other end and you're in a multiple offer situation. We always have to be kind and professional and understand that's really important, especially in real estate. And then I think the last thing is you like that kind of FBI investigation of finding those people, matching the puzzle pieces together, and your referrals reflect that. So people are sharing the stories and how you helped find them the properties. And then of course, that'll help you get listings. So going back to listings, because I know that's everyone's kind of hot button right now. Is there anything special that you're doing marketing wise or that you feel is helping on that side of the business?
Well, I want to touch a little bit on what you said, and that is, when you're talking about the golden letters or what have you, I don't do that just to get listings. I do that very specifically and intentionally when I do have a buyer. So I'm not just out there fishing. For example, I've had people who say, we want that house and it's not for sale. And it's like, and then I'll find a way to get in touch with the people, and they'll say, other people have got in touch with us. I'd say, but you seem really sincere. So again, it's just really coming from a place of being of service, and it isn't just out there, fishing for trying to, and I think people really see that sincerity. And that's where, I've had some of these off-market deals that, buyers and sellers became friends, and, it's just, it can turn out to be a really beautiful thing. So back to you were asking about the listings.
With listings, is there anything specific you're doing that might be unique to your marketing that has helped you in a way? Obviously, I think you're being authentic and genuine and helping serve your buyers is probably showing some of these people that may or may not sell that when they do or are ready to be in that position, obviously you're going to remain top of mind because of your approach. You really were specific and you weren't looking to cold call them in a way that was approaching them kind of when they're off guard. You actually really had a legitimate need for a true client you serve. So I think that helped on both ends. But anything specific to marketing right now to actually help you obtain listings that otherwise an agent might not think of?
What comes to mind on that is really, I've been getting a lot more intentional and going deeper with relationships, because so much of it is repeat and referral. So, I had a VA just start yesterday. So I'm a solo agent. I have a full-time licensed assistant. He's been with me for 2 years now, and a transaction coordinator. But I just brought on a VA, cyberbacker, and it's part of that is just going deeper with relationships, that I have more touch programs, a surprise and delight, those things where, because I love that organic business that's coming from people that you've worked with or that have been referrals. And so I think that's where, and just trying to get more listings is just really, really nurturing the relationships that we have. And again, it doesn't matter. For example, I had some people that I helped with and you guys have probably done this as well. You helped somebody with a $350,000 condo that turned into, I don't know, $7 or $8 million in referrals, and multiple friends of theirs who ended up listing with me or what have you. So for me, it's really just nurturing the relationships that I have. And also I do farm. I've never been part of a planned development or a community of such or lived in one. So my business was really kind of all over San Diego, but for the last 4 years, I think now I have a magazine that goes to a specific community that where I have lived in that neighborhood. And so that has also, I mean, it took some time, but that's definitely now I turned out last year that I sold the most in the number of homes sold and volume for that zip code. And so, yeah, I know it's exciting. So now my phone's ringing, you know, honestly, it took a couple of years. So that's not the fast track, that's, you know, but that kind of consistent touch programs, you know, and when you're that's worked out well now.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're saying is you're offering so much value, and then they also see the proven track record over a given period of time. All along the way, you're offering, again, that value in building relationships. So it's not simply mailing something out. I have so many agents that will say, well, I really want to farm this neighborhood. And several agents are sending something of value. One might be better than the other. However, they're not really forming the relationships on the back end, and they're just hoping for the phone to ring. It sounds like you're so involved in that community, you're residing in that community, and then you're also building the relationships, and then they happen to receive something of value in the mail. So it's just, again, that top of mind.
Yeah, and in that we do in that magazine, because I think it's, I don't know, like about 30 pages or something, but we bring things of value. We're not only talking about the community and the things that are happening in the community, but also vendor lists. If somebody needs a housekeeper, or, you know, contact us. We've got great resources for everything. So bringing things of value as well. And sometimes people aren't ready to sell a home or buy a home or what have you, but they'll say, hey, you know, I'd love your vendor list because I need a landscaper. And then it just, you know, starts the connection.
Yeah, it sounds like you're the connector for all things related real estate, and you're becoming the resource for them. So no matter what their real estate need is, they're reaching out. So I am going to shift gears. We've covered a lot of my questions. I do my best to get through these before we go to Q&A right around 12:30, but I have a few more. So we went over your marketing. You know, sometimes we have this misconception of Keller Williams being just for new agents. And you have touched on some of our events. We obviously have the luxury retreat. We're going to be doing that finally after a couple-year break due to COVID.
Yay.
But in October, we'll be able to do that. We're still waiting on the actual location. So hopefully everyone will be patient as that will be announced. But what kind of other training or books or events do you attend? Because I think sometimes people think, well, I know how to sell real estate. I've gotten to a certain point, and they have this perception that Keller Williams is only for new agents. I mean, you're a very established, experienced agent who has grown your business exponentially over time. So what kind of, again, training or books do you read that might take you to the next level that you could share with everyone?
Well, you know, I mentioned that I had spent my whole life in sales and growing sales organizations. So when I came into real estate, you know, I was, you know, I'd had a career in sales. So I felt, as I mentioned, you know, I started with other brokerages where it just wasn't a good fit there. I really felt like I was being treated like somebody who was just brand new in business. Whereas when I joined KW, I felt much more like I was seen as an entrepreneur. And so that made a big difference. And, you know, Keller Williams Luxury, we have such amazing resources and tools and events and everything else that you can take advantage of. So I really try to do that, and I'm, you know, implementing the different resources that we have. I'm reading a book right now. It's called Cult of the Customer by Shep Hyken.
Okay.
I really like it. Again, it's called Cult of the Customer. It's about creating amazing customer experiences that basically turn your clients or the people, into raving evangelists is what they say. The word cult also often has a negative connotation, but in reality, it's like when somebody is loyal to you at that level, they're automatically singing your praises. So anyway, that's another resource. So just the resources for me, the resources through Keller Williams Luxury outside of KW, like I mentioned, the other types of events, and then ongoing, and the mastermind groups are just.
We had a great mastermind at the last family reunion event. That was,
Yeah.
the police had to come. We had so many people trying to get in the mastermind.
That's amazing. I didn't even really know. It was another big step forward for me. That is really a game changer. Is that in 2020, I didn't even know it, but pandemic, I decided to work harder than ever, and it qualified me for Gary Keller's top 100. So I didn't find out until like the middle of 2021. All of a sudden I start getting these invitations. So that to me on the top of, the Keller Williams Luxury, and then getting into that, I mean, I'm telling you, it's just inspired me to no end. That's like, they say, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. Right. I'm like, I got into that room and everybody else is so smart, and that's where I want to be. So, just keep doing the things where you're putting yourself in an environment to be able to really grow into your potential.
I love it. I think so. My first mastermind with Gary, with the top agents, I'm looking around and it's like, okay, Sarah Reynolds, Tony Baroni, Ben Kinney. Yeah. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like Sarah has $1 billion company. And so I'm Wendy Papazan sitting behind me. I'm taking notes as fast as I can on my Remarkable. And I thought, I'm so organized. I have my Remarkable. I look around and people are taking notes, but not quite as frantically as I am. And then I realized this is my first one. They probably heard some of these things before, but yeah, it definitely was exhilarating. So I'm so glad that you have that opportunity, and it's certainly going to help your business and help you with your wonderful clients that you already serve with excellent client experience. So I'm going to open it up to some Q&A, and I'm sure we'll touch on a few things that you're wonderful at that people want to know about. So I did put that book in the actual chat, so hopefully everyone can see that. If you're on mute, you can just push your space bar and take yourself off mute and ask Ms. Lisa a question, or you're welcome to put it in the chat.
I need to.
Everyone shy today? I see Joey's on here. You're very inquisitive, Joey. I know you have questions.
Why you always got to call me out? I probably have stuff in my teeth because I'm eating. So I'll ask a question. I do know one thing that we've kind of toyed going back and forth with is using digital media as part of our presentation. Do you use a digital media option like the luxury branding that we have with KW, or what are you using for your listing presentations?
I used to always kind of say that in all honesty, like nobody was really super wowed by my listing presentation. I just knew the market, and it was really more just about it's knowing the market really, really well, and then just really connecting with people and listening more than you're talking. But more recently, so I just bought an iPad Max Pro, which I'm loving. I got it literally the day before I went to family reunion. So I'm looking at putting together a nicer digital presentation. I haven't quite got there yet. But yeah, that's something that I bought that specifically with that in mind, because it's just, I love it. It's just so much easier to use than the laptop. Yeah, so lightweight, be able to use it. You don't have to worry about having Wi-Fi. You can just use cellular. I mean, and the the Max Pro it's a good size screen. And so that's something that I'm incorporating now.
Okay, great.
So,
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Brandy, I'll kind of throw it back to you. Do you have something that you're doing with the digital format? Because
I love digital. I
Yeah.
have been digital for a long time, and I still have hard copies. We've used Unibind, and we have a embossed logo for the brokerage. And then my team is the Coffey Group Fine Homes International. So we certainly have that logo. Everybody loves it and knows the brand because I have several businesses that are the Coffey Group design, the Coffey Group this. So they kind of know the branding. So I think it's important to have it with me and to kind of put it on the kitchen table or the coffee table, or in Florida, sometimes we're sitting outside, probably much like you are with weather, enjoying a cocktail at our listing consultation around 5:30. But I'm not really in heavy production anymore, but I do have a digital version. And a lot of times if I am with another agent helping them, I will have it there for touch points. But just like you said, it's not necessarily to go through it page by page. I already have my pre-listing done. So I have a digital pre-list that also can be printed out and mailed or dropped off, even better with a goodie bag. I always say a goodie bag. And Joey, you're great at goodie bags. And then I have the digital version with me so that if the hard copy is not something that impresses them and I know they just want to go on a couple of touch points, I am going to just touch on whatever it is they wanted to know. So whether it's market knowledge, am I up against a major brand outside of KW, and I need to talk about the fact that we did $432 billion and a lot of that was luxury, right? We did over $100 billion with just the luxury segment. That's pretty awesome. So, and what was that percentage, Joey, that we did of the market with KW? I made her calculate this the other day.
You did make me calculate it, but now I'm in the process of writing up offers on a property, and I am not even.
Okay, I'll let you go with that then.
Oh, I know. It was like 21%. It was rated like the 20. Yes, now I remember.
So I'll mention this as well. Sorry, like I said, I'm about 11 years into the business. So last year was the 10-year mark, and I spent a lot of time and money and resources in doing new branding. And so all new signs and business cards and folders and all of the listing, the marketing materials, everything was fresh and new. And so that, and I looked at yours and on your website, and one of the things that came up in the luxury mastermind was some agents were saying, oh, do you have different branding for luxury and then for just the regular? And it was, I don't, but the website and everything, it really just speaks more towards being of service and the integrity in the business and the resources and that type of thing. So I found that it wasn't necessary to have something that spoke exclusively to luxury or what have you. And so I when I looked at your website, I felt very much the same, that it's like, you do big business and stuff, but you're really just connecting with the people and speaking to what their needs are and what they could expect from working with you or your team.
Yeah, we want to create a concierge level of service and experience. I sometimes even don't like using the word service because I feel like that's the bare minimum. Sometimes that experience part is how we're making them feel. So I want them to be able to, again, come to me as a resource for anything real estate related. So if I don't have a company that does that, I have someone I'm affiliated with. And, I've ended up partnering with a lot of people over time because sometimes I'll end up giving them so much business that then I'm like, wait, can you handle it? Maybe we need to help you leverage. And not everyone's great at hiring leverage. I certainly wasn't great at doing that in the very beginning. I would hire out of necessity, as I think everyone probably on this call has done. And now I have a better opportunity of learning, through career visioning and all the wonderful classes that we have to take over and over again. Now we have expansion classes, which kind of help as well. So I think just if there's a need, finding a way to either build a business around that, but it's again, not always, well, I want to have 16 businesses to profit with 16 different, companies, is there a need for something, and how do we solve that problem is how we have come up with our experience, whether it's through the brokerage or through my team, where we just launched a marketing company that helps transaction coordination, listing coordination, marketing, digital marketing, putting together a brand box. Maybe somebody doesn't have the wherewithal to be super creative and they feel they need something, right? The relationship's the most important, but they also don't want to not have a site put up or a business card that has a specific look to service a client. So we're helping our agents do it so they can just go do what they're great at.
That's great. That's wonderful. Just get out there and sell.
Yes, do what you love. Do what you love. Okay, I think I have another question in the chat. Let me see what we have here. If anyone else has a question, again, feel free to just take yourself off mute.
Hey there, it's Brandon Karen. What specifically did you do to earn your first luxury listing, and what did you do to stay in that market, stay in the luxury market? Like, how did you market it? What was like one or two specific things that you did to, because you could essentially get 2 leads from each listing that you have. So what specifically did you do to stay in that luxury market?
Oh, I think Brandon's a numbers-based person. He wants to know specifics, details, and then we should be getting 2 pieces of business off of that listing. I love that, Brandon.
So that's one particular scenario comes to mind because it was early on in my career. So we talked about that reverse prospecting and finding inventory. So I had a client who wanted a penthouse in a particular building. There weren't any for sale. So I reached out and I was able to put a deal together. So then I leveraged off of that that was representing the buyer, but I leveraged off of that and I ended up with a penthouse and 5 other listings in that complex. So yeah, that's that's one scenario that came to
Brock,
early in my
I
career.
need you to call Eleanor and ask if you can go early.
I need to mute Miss Michelle here. Hold on. She's talking to her son. I know she's who she's talking to. The kids are priority. I know. God, family, business, right? The way I got my first listing, and this doesn't sound like uber luxe now because it's the average price point in our area for just an average home. My first listing was $614,000. Of course, I was in my mid-20s, so I thought I just hit the jackpot. Now it's an everyday home where with this market, and fast forward years later. But I asked a builder who I had a relationship with, who needs to sell their home in order to close on your new inventory? Do you know anyone that I can just pick up a resale home? So he introduced me to someone, and I was up against 3 other agents. And I just said, listen, I know you have all these other experienced agents, but I'm hungry. I'm driven. I'm very detailed, Mr. Brandon. And I'll hold an open house 7 days a week. I will do whatever it takes to get your home sold. I will go door knock. I just went through everything I was willing to do. And they liked the drive and the hunger that they saw versus maybe somebody else with a proven track record. So if you are kind of newer entering into the space, focus on that. Even if you're up against a big team, that could be your value that you offer, is they get you and all of you versus somebody that has multiple listings. So I'm giving you a little tip on the other end of having a big team, Brandon.
Yeah, and again, I'm a solo agent, and by design, because I had a pretty substantial career when I came into real estate and had sales organizations. So for me personally, like, I did not want to have, even though it's a lot of the Keller Williams model, I think you have to find what works for you. So for me, being a solo agent, having a full-time licensed assistant, a transaction coordinator, and now bringing on a VA to be able to work more of that back end on the touch systems and things where we're deepening the relationships that we have with people. That's what works for me. So Yeah.
I think you're doing everything the KW model. I think the misconception is you have to start a team when you come over to KW. I've even had people ask me recently, do I have to join your team to be in your brokerage? And I'm going, oh my gosh, is that the impression I'm putting out to the public? I thought, shame on me. Maybe my messaging is wrong or it's confusing to the public. So I said, well, absolutely not. You know, we would love for you to build your own business and support you in doing so. But everything you just described is building your operations, which is way more important than the sales. No offense to anyone, but I started an operation, so it was a little easier for me to hire that next person to do my job. But I think that's the hardest part sometimes for a very skilled salesperson to hire operations, because sometimes it's somebody that's opposite of them.
Well, one of the things that came up in I think if it was family reunion or one of the masterminds recently, is especially in this market where everything is so fast moving. I mean, for us, it's 21. Like I meet people and, you know, a week later have them in escrow and we've closed on their property in 30 days. And so it's like, boom, boom, and you're moving on to the next one, the next one. So again, it's so fast to be on to the next thing, because everything happens so quickly that really taking the time to set up the operations or the things, you know, where you're really continuing to nurture those relationships. Because sometimes I found that I was getting the great testimonial, but then I was on to the next thing and the next one and the next one. And we weren't really nurturing the relationships in a ongoing basis as well as we could. So there's always room for growth, and there's always things to do that. But, you know, the more and more you go to all of these events, and that I've been in the business, for me, it was always very relationship oriented. I never bought internet leads. I didn't, just for me. It's just that was so, but we found that this is a relationship business. And so the more that we can nurture those relationships and bring resources of value and really be about the client experience and getting to know them and their needs, that, you know, the more that's going to multiply, and keep you top of mind, top of mind. But, you know, again, it's just our markets and everything moves so fast that we just have to be mindful not to just be transactional and moving on to the next thing, even though we've got that raving review, that we wanted to just, you know, have the systems in place to be able to keep nurturing those relationships.
Yeah. And I think as you grow your data bank, right, it's going to be harder and harder. So you need that really strong operations background to support you and your clients' needs. I think that, you know, I've experienced that too, even with the team, where you are doing a lot of units and a lot of volume, and then you kind of have to sit back and go, we're losing sight here of the relationship. You start to feel that transaction ickiness. And I think if you're on a team, you might, you know, experience that, and you have to dial back and go, hold on a second, you know, these are people, and yes, they're relocating a lot of times, but we have to make sure that even though we've closed in a 30-day, or even back in the day, it was 2 weeks when the attorneys could handle it before COVID and they got inundated, you know, we do 2-week closings. And so it can be easy not to be conscientious of that. So that's a great point. We have a couple more questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hey,
Yeah.
my name is Scott Bryant. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. Lisa, so I have my first actual luxury listing this Friday. Super excited. I've done tons of buy, but I haven't done it. Thank you. I haven't done a listing yet. I am going up against 4 other realtors, so I'm like biting my nails. So what are you telling your clients? What is your value proposition? And what are you doing to make yourself stick out from the sea of other realtors at these listing presentations?
Okay, well, I think one of the things, you know, if this is your first listing.
It's not my first listing. It's my first luxury listing.
He says he has a lot of experience with luxury buyers, but this will be his first luxury listing. So a little different dynamic, but still same experience, just different ways in which you're going to give them that experience.
I think so much of that is really understanding what's most important to that. Now you're asking about taking the listing, or I'm sorry.
So yeah. I mean, my question is, what is the value proposition that you're telling your sellers to pick you over somebody else? You know, how are you making yourself stick out from the crowd?
Right. Okay, so that is really listening to asking questions, and then really being quiet and listening to what their needs are and what they expect out of the agent who's representing them. And then I think you need, if it's possible and you know who some of the top listing agents are in that area, kind of knowing, you always take the high road. You don't ever talk negatively about anybody ever, but you can speak to the differences. If you're a solo agent versus the other agent is a big team, you can talk about, you know, the personal attention that you're going to get with it from start to finish, and the value that you bring with that personal attention, and the level of communication, and that they just have one person that, you know, they have you that's going to be there to help them throughout the entire process. And you know, I would, you know, I can't really think of anything else at this.
Yeah, I would just, Scott, I would just add a little bit of, you know, just like Lisa said from the beginning, a lot of times she's not opening this huge, you know, consultation package. I try to not call it a presentation, because that reminds me not to talk, because I like to talk a lot. So I have to remind myself to just close my mouth. So I call it a consultation, because then it reminds me to ask questions. So make a list of all the questions you want to ask. And I typically do a pre-list, so I know some of the answers to those questions before I get there that are the most important. How many agents are they interviewing? You already know that. I always ask who they're interviewing. And then I'm going to study what they do. And then, like Lisa said, never ever speak ill of another person, because again, you're probably friends with these people outside of this particular appointment.
And you never know when they might bring you another deal or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's just not professional. Of course, that kind of, it's sad that we have to say that, but there are people that unfortunately make that mistake. But knowing what they do in the market, and then what has worked for me, I'm a numbers person, like Brandon, who piped up earlier and asked a great question. I like to know what they've done as far as a company with sales. So depending on who the company is, for us, it would be Sotheby's or Michael Saunders, sometimes Coldwell. So I would know as a company what their luxury sales as a company were. And I use it specific to the US and Canada, because it's easy to compare it to KW that way. And then I have those, and it's all over our website. And then I also have in there what Keller Williams has done. So we just finished Family Reunion. I mean, $532 billion in sales is pretty freaking awesome. I think it's what, 1 in 4 transactions they said. Was it 1 in 3 or 1 in 4? Keller Williams agent handles. So where's the buyer going to be coming from? If it's typically outside of your area, those connections we've been talking about within that luxury segment are so powerful.
So that was something that I think when you initially had invited me to this, and then you know, kind of gave an idea of some of the questions, and that is, you know, how are you marketing the luxury listing? So, you know, through, I don't know if you're part of Keller Williams Luxury International, but you know, that if not, then that brings so many resources and opportunities to get, I mean, depending on the property, but you know, that it's all about the reach, but also not only the reach that provides, and being able to have listings translated into, you know, all different languages and all of the different global platforms and all of those things, but it's strategically knowing, trying to identify who's your buyer, where might they be coming from, what are the feeder markets that are going into that area. You're in Scottsdale, Coronado. Half of your people are in Coronado every summer. I know that. So no, knowing really being able to try to kind of identify and if you're not sure, reach out and ask, your fellow KW agents or, and really try to understand where that buyer might be coming from. You've got a really big reach. You're with the biggest company that there is out there. Talk about all the business that they do and the ways that you can showcase their property, but also knowing more specifically kind of where that feeder market might be coming from and what that buyer might look like.
Yeah, and you're welcome, Scott, to reach out to me too. As far as migration patterns, I can give you some great resources. Anyone else for that matter, you're welcome to reach out. I study migration patterns. I actually put them in my investment seminars that I do once a quarter. And I invite my luxury clients to that because they're typically going to want to invest in commercial or already have commercial assets. And then I'll have my commercial guy on my team. You might want to have a commercial representative that's in your market center there. And then you work on referral, however you want to work that out. But we talk about why people are moving to our area and where they're coming from. So even when I do a command ad on Facebook, or I do it directly on Facebook, because I like to do a little higher level sometimes with the migration patterns, I can select like, who's my avatar? Who do I think is the buyer for this product? And I'm able to show the seller that. So, if that's something you haven't gotten into, you might want to at least look into that, because I can show them we had, hundreds of thousands of people view this ad that are from this specific area. And as you can see over here, this is where the majority of people are moving from that are buying the property.
I love that. That's really smart.
Because, data doesn't lie. So all you're doing is pushing that listing in front of them. You can do it on YouTube. You can do it on Facebook, Instagram now. If you want to go digital, or good old fashioned phone call, like Lisa said, or an email, reaching out to those people you already have a relationship with. So it does help being involved versus just kind of pushing it in front of the buyers. Now you can push it in front of their trusted real estate consultants that you already have a relationship from that town.
So one of my first luxury listings in Coronado it was 2 houses on a lot. And so we did a video, and it was my first one. And so I was really nervous, but I thought about one is the lifestyle in Coronado, the proximity to the schools, all of the different lifestyle and the things that were in the area. So really looking at that, but also on that particular property, highlighting the fact that it could be multi-generational, it could be an income property, all of the various ways that to market that to the potential audiences. So and then once we had that video, then I could use that video for other properties to get other luxury listings. They're like, wow, that's so cool that you really talked about the area, and and it doesn't have to be, they're short and sweet, but bringing that to the table when you're going for a luxury presentation, or if you haven't done it yet, just saying, okay, this is one of the things that we can do for you. I think that can be really powerful as well.
Yeah, I think video is so important, even if it's, your first one and you have a limited budget. Find we have an art school nearby. So one of my first videos was it was pro bono because they wanted it in their portfolio and they knew we had a business and we would help bring them more business. So there's some creative ways, Scott, that you can incorporate that. But it's also an investment, right? Like Lisa said, to gain more listings and have market share and utilize that to market yourself. We have a few more questions. I've only asked Lisa to be here for an hour, so I want to make as best use of our time. So I'm going to run through a couple in the chat. And then again, if you have any and we have time, we'll have people come off mute. So this is Suzanne Horner. How do you all receive luxury relocation clients? Have you made relationships with local sports teams, businesses, HRs, or have you made connections with relocation companies? Thank you in advance.
So I, again, so for relocation, again, it's a lot of it is, no, I haven't worked with relocation companies. A lot of it is repeat and referral, like I said, but it's really just the networking. It's the networking with all of the agents that I have in my database, and the resources, and finding the off-market properties and that type of thing for a relocation. Also, one of the nice, I'll mention this, my brother is 30 years in commercial real estate and his wife owns San Diego vacation rentals. So
Nice.
as far as San Diego, we've got all of that covered if he can help you with anything here. But, you know, I found that with relocation also, helping people, I was just with relocation buyers this weekend. I don't know, I think I've got several that I'm working with right now, but, you know, we met in one neighborhood and then we, you know, talked about different neighborhoods, but they needed a short-term rental because they wanted to come down here, and then the wife was going to come here and then the husband was going to stay behind and sell the house, which we know will sell quickly or what have you, and then come down here. And I gave them some short-term rental options were things that they hadn't thought of. And so they found that to be really valuable. And then just really understanding different neighborhoods and resources. So yeah, it's just however you can best serve their needs.
I love that. I love that you're helping them with the short term. And we have a property management company that I'm a part owner of with an agent that I attracted from another company, and they wouldn't offer her ownership, and that's okay. You know, they had a different business model, but I thought, gosh, I was partnered with someone else in a property management company, but I saw so much value in the way she serviced people. And I thought, why not have this as another tier of vacation? And then we have the annual over here. And then we end up doing both with her. It was so valuable. But I think, you know, being able to find them something off market that they can rent with our area is very important. And as far as the sports team question, we do have sports and entertainment as another segment. I am an actual member of that, and I was a member before Jordan aligned with KW. So I would find someone in your market center that might be a member of that. Sometimes they limit it based on the need for that area, but helping the players, we're actually helping the Braves right now and many other, the Rays and different people in the 5 counties we serve in a hurry, find those short-term vacation rentals. And that goes a long way when they do want to buy a vacation home. And sometimes they never buy, but the referrals you get from that. So if you're interested in that, you can get with your leadership and ask about applying. They do have specific requirements, but there might be someone in your market center that you align with that you can share ideas. And then with HR, LinkedIn has been a great resource for HR. Finding the HR representatives on LinkedIn are very easy. So maybe there's companies in your area.
So I'll touch on one more thing. And for example, I have a woman in the Bay Area who wants to buy an investment property down here because eventually they want to move down here or what have you. So, you know, helping with property managers, helping with, you know, there's just so many different things that we can bring to the table, whether it's relocation or whether somebody's buying out of area. It's just, again, having all of those resources readily available so that you can best serve their needs.
Yeah, and you aligning yourself with a strong property management company, sometimes they'll allow you to go put things in their refrigerator, or as a guest, one of our agents on our team just brought some goodies, you know, and it was just beverages and snacks and just a nice handwritten note upon arrival. And then, you know, of course, he made sure to make sure they were picked up in the airport. And then now they're looking at property today. So knowing a nice, strong property manager and sharing, you know, giving them a great experience, even though they're not staying in your house or a hotel, you can still bring those items. They'll allow you to do that and put your collateral, because a lot of times they don't own a brokerage. It's very unusual because they make a lot of money doing those short term. So that's their one thing. Speaking of one thing, the last question is, actually, we have 2 more if you have time. In your experience, what is the most effective way to get luxury listings? What would you say is your number one thing? I think you kind of covered this. It was a lot of prospecting for people that really have a need. And like you said, reverse prospecting to find that perfect fit, whether it's that penthouse they want or that house that's not on the market. Anything else you want to add to that question?
No. No, you know what I was thinking. My brain kind of went to the wealth building because we're talking about that. It touched on that briefly, and I just thought of one thing that was really successful for me. So I'm not only doing it myself, so I'm so passionate about it and buying multi-unit properties. And we sit at the source. Think of yourself when you're going out there and you're seeing these properties, because I just happened to have bought mine off market. But one of the things that I did is I had a symposium and I invited, I had a great turnout. I had about, I don't know, it's like 50 or 60 people that
Wow.
came, and I had 5 of my clients. I went to each of them and I didn't tell them what to say. They each had bought multi-unit properties with different goals in mind. And one, how they were able to move up, and one was able to, he bought a lot with me and he was able to leave his job, and, you know, how they leveraged them, or, you know, whatever. And I just said, would you speak for 5 minutes on if you've had this amazing stuff that you've done with buying the multi-unit properties? And each of them said, absolutely. I didn't coach them. I had it at a wine pub. We invited, everybody came, and it was amazing because I just basically made an introduction. Had got up, there was a couple or a single person got up and told their story. And I'm telling you, and then we had vendors that came and had goodie bags or what have you, but people were so engaged. There was no hard sell. It was just talking about outside of the box thinking and strategies and stuff, and people just telling their own story. And I didn't coach them. I didn't upsell afterwards or whatever. And people were so, I'm telling you, not one person in the room like looked at their phone the entire time. They stayed for an hour afterwards asking questions. So, you know, that talking about like getting listings or different ways of engaging. Yeah, there's just, you know, there's so many different things that you could do, but that was one thing that I did that was just really successful. And I felt like it brought value, and it wasn't about pitching me or how great I was or trying to get a listing. It was just having my clients, and you all have clients that have had amazing experiences. Think of that there's a theme around that, or something where maybe they might want to tell their story. And now that we can get together in public again, or whether it's on
Yeah, we
Zoom,
don't have to do this on Zoom anymore. We can
what
get
have
this.
you? Yeah. So, you know, there's probably some really great ways that you can leverage the amazing things that you've already done in the business.
Oh, I love it. Well, it's 1:03, so we're going to let Lisa get back to dominating the San Diego area and listing wonderful property and serving her amazing buyers. I love that idea. You can throw a little wine in there to make it fun too, but having them share their story. And I don't know if you know this about me, Lisa, but my mission is to help as many people increase their net worth as possible. And by doing so, I know they'll give back to my community. So I love that we're a really philanthropic community. So if I can help people earn more and profit more, and then I know that they'll hopefully feel so inclined to give back to the community I grew up in. So I love that you're teaching people and consulting with people on building their net worth. That's amazing. I did not even know that about you until we were discussing this. So I'm learning just like everyone else on this call, and I really appreciate all the value you've offered. Is there any contact information or Instagram or social media you would like people to follow you on as we wrap up here?
Okay, so my phone number is 619-890-3945. I am on Instagram. His last name is spelled B as in boy, OHLKEN. You've got it there on your screen. But I am on Instagram and Facebook, both business and personal pages, and would happy to be of service. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I will stay on the call to answer any general questions and answers as your North Florida luxury segment leader. So if you have questions about where to find things on the website, where the valuable tools are, I'm going to stay on for a few minutes, and probably about 10 or 15 minutes, and you can pick my brain or ask any questions. I see a lot in the chat, but in essence of time, I only allocated 1 hour with Lisa, and I know that's a lot of information to get in, but thank you so much. And
Brandy, thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor. I'm really happy to be able to join you guys today. So great selling. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your week.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, does anyone have, I see a couple questions in the chat. Let me see if I can help answer some of these. Who did the rebranding for you? I have a couple of companies. Cynthia Freud gave me a really good company that will brand or rebrand your material. So I'm going to put my email in the chat, and you're welcome to email. So let me change this back to everyone. I had a couple private chats in there, and depending on how much you're going to rebrand, it can be expensive if you're rebranding, hundreds of pages. But if it's just a brand box, that might be easier. And then you can use someone else to kind of use those logos on your current collateral. Let's see if we have any other questions here. Candace, you had a question. Oh, she must have had to jump off. Let me see if she's still on here. Nope, hopefully she'll email Lisa. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Jeffrey says, thank you for the tremendous value you brought to this hour, Brandy and Lisa. My pleasure. Angela Robinson, what was the name of the sports group? So it's sports and entertainment. It's specific to Keller Williams. I know we had some guests on here, but you can certainly get with your leadership. If your leadership is unfamiliar, they're welcome to contact me. Again, I've been a member. It was called Next Move when Jordan Stewart first started it, but now he's partnered with Keller Williams, and it's bringing so much value to our brokerages and market centers. We're very excited to have that partnership. Oh, Kim Paxton, great content. Lisa and Brandy, thank you. Candace said great mastermind, a bunch of thank yous. All right, I think that's it for the chat. Does anyone have any questions for me or where to find things?
I have a question. This is Joey.
Hi, Joey.
I know on the Luxury Hub, it gives us all of the design stipulations for the new logo and the font and certain things like that. Is there a place where we can just get the logo?
Sure. So let me see if I can share my screen here. They actually posted this. Did you see in Facebook where they posted everything?
No, but I probably just didn't see it. And the luxury Facebook page?
Yes, ma'am. So it'll say KW Luxury Official. So make sure you're in the right group. I know we have a lot of referral groups and Lord only knows how many luxury ones are out there, but let me see if I can bring that up for you.
Let me see if I can find the topics.
Yeah, it was most recent. And then I'll make sure to share my screen so that you can see the right group. Because again, I know that there's a lot of different Facebook groups out there and there might be some confusion on it. When you do get in the earned in, what they'll do is they'll guide you and ask you to share or join, excuse me, and share your information in this group. So this is the group. There's a little over 7,600 members. And you'll see, let me just minimize my screen here because I have some messages. When you go to the featured, you should have some good posts in here. Here's another good one, Joey. It'll say if you're not receiving the emails, there's an actual post. We have 2,000 earned in luxury agents that might be missing some opportunities that have opted out. So this post will actually give you a step-by-step guide on how to re-opt in. Some of you have said you haven't been receiving the information. And then there's another post here. Okay, so you can see the changes. There's no more gold in the luxury. Okay, so you'll see I actually had the old gold one on my background on my Facebook. I took that down, but you can add your agent or team. And then when you click on connect, you'll have to log in. It'll take you right there. So I'm not going to log in, but that's where it'll take you, Joey. So you might want to just get into the Facebook page and you can see the featured right here on the left-hand side.
Yeah. And for anybody, there's another one and it takes you, when you click on the, go all the way down where it says more exclusive resources and it's right there, luxury logo download. Duh.
No, you're fine. These are great questions because the thing, I love doing this and I've agreed to just stay on a few minutes longer when we do these and not take away from the value from our guests, but just to share tips and tools that maybe you haven't found, even though they're probably right there, right? You get so busy and you're like, where do I find this? Or you might have opted out from the emails. And so I've had a lot of people say, I didn't know about the luxury mastermind at family reunion. I'm going, gosh, I got the email and I RSVP'd right away. Somehow you might have accidentally opted out. So there's instructions that are now being posted on the Facebook group that you can see here. And again, there's also content. So for example, this is something you can use on your Facebook or your Instagram, and they email out these social media kits once a month. And it tells you the different dates in which you can post them. So I'll show you what that looks like when you opt back in, should you have opted out. There's also an orientation that was a PowerPoint that sometimes I'll reference when I'm doing this. But here's February. So you might have seen me post some of this. They give you all the copy. Now, this was a lengthier one where you can actually go and get your market statistics for your given area. So I went in and looked at the Realtor Association of Sarasota, Manatee County, and put in our numbers. So some of those numbers we just discussed with Lisa, 0.6 months of inventory. And then I had some other data points. We added number of active listings, number of closing. And then I just posted this pre-made content with the logo the way it shows. And then they sent out March. So not sure if I have that one open. Looks like this is both February, but they sent out the March, and that will show the statistics for the entire year. And then there's other content. These are just examples. So there might be a holiday, perfect getaway. So it gives you the dates. It even gives you the hashtags. So that could be something that you just send over to your social media person. I have a cyber person that does it for me. She's local, but she's not in my office. So you have the logo, Joey, you're all set. You're gonna put that on all your luxury listings since you're out there rocking it. Okay, awesome. Anyone else have any questions? We have, let's see, Evelise, DeLong, Clover, Andrea, and Angela. Any questions from you ladies? Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. You're welcome to reach out to me directly. I am going to put my email in the chat just so you have it, should you need anything. Okay, Angela says, thank you. This was great. Oh, thank you for joining us. It was my pleasure. Have a great day, everyone. See you next month.
Thank you.
Some of you I'll see before then.